U.S. Ski and Snowboarding drops surfing bid with the upcoming Olympics right around the corner. A lot of people didn't even know that this was even a story, right? But this has been a story. And the thing is, U.S. Ski and Snowboard was in bidding motion to try and handle the sport organizing for surfing for the upcoming Olympics in Los Angeles in 2028. And they've dropped bids. They decided, nope, we're not going to pursue this anymore. We're done. And you know what? I don't blame them for being done. Let's talk about the story, though. It is a big story. A lot of people did not know about it, but U.S. Ski and Snowboarding was going to try to be a governing body for surfing, for USA Surfing. They were going to try to do this and run it because, look, honestly, U.S. Ski and Snowboard has done this for so many years. They are pretty much on it, and they run a very tight ship. And you look at surfing being, of course, put it in the Olympics in Tokyo. I was doing the TV commentating for the women's side of that. And you know what? That was the first time that it made it to the Olympics. So if you look at it, and you look at it logically, you start going, well, wait a minute. Would it really be such a bad thing if U.S. Ski and Snowboarding ran surfing? Would it be the sport organizer, the just running it for the Olympics? The governing body? Could they be the governing body? Is that something that just does not sit well with people? As somebody who has worked for U.S. Ski and Snowboarding for many years as a contractor, and also has worked for ISA Surfing, USA Surfing, Olympic Surfing, Olympic Snowboarding, I've done all of them. I think that this would have been good for surfing, having U.S. Ski and Snowboard doing it. But it's too late. They're done. They've pulled out. They're not going to do it. USA Surfing was not happy with them being involved in the beginning. USA Surfing was completely 100% against it. They weren't going to talk about it. They weren't going to entertain anything. USA Surfing wanted no part of U.S. Ski and Snowboarding. So, U.S. Ski and Snowboard drops the surfing bid. Let's break down the story. Here it is right here. U.S. Ski and Snowboard announced it would no longer take part in the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee's open process to identify a national governing body for surfing. The federation confirmed the decision in a statement released on Thursday, noting that the organization entered the process without enthusiasm, without conviction, about the ability to support American surfers. The federation emphasized that experience running the Olympics and the Paralympic sports, combined with a person-athlete first framework, this is positioned to continue meaningful structure and resources to a sport that's still rebuilding its governance. And that's the thing. They don't have a solid governing body. USA Surfing was not compliant in some of the things they were supposed to do, so that's why this even happened in the first place. That's why they were a viable option. That's why people were looking at them and going, well, maybe U.S. Ski and Snowboard could do this. They could be the governing body, right? But what is the reason, Brad J? What is the reason for their withdrawal? This is according to skirace.com, put this out. The press release basically said this. And they did what they could. The press release, U.S. Ski and Snowboard, a significant time exploring the USOPC's request for proposals and received interest from athletes, commercial partners. However, the statement cited a lack of cooperation from USA Surfing, the former NGB that wants to be the new NGB that relinquished its status in 2021 after failing to meet USOPC compliant standards. So that's it. So they didn't meet the standards. That is why it became open. That's why people were looking at it. Do you hear me? This is why it was even being entertained in the first place, because they weren't compliant with USOPC. That's the truth. You cannot make that up. Something you'd like to make up is this lower part, what they said. According to the release, U.S. Ski and Snowboard reached out multiple times over the past 18 months seeking a conversation and collaboration with USA Surfing. USA Surfing chose public attacks and uninformed legal threats instead of constructive dialogue. That's what U.S. Ski and Snowboard said. The organization said this. The dynamic the Federation explained shapes the decision to redirect its focus. And I like it. I mean, you need to concentrate on snowboarding and skiing, and that's what you are. And you're trying to help out. I mean, you got to give them credit. U.S. Ski and Snowboard was only, look, hey, we've been at this for a long time. We would be someone that could handle it, could actually run it, and be the governing body for surfing. And USA Surfing wanted no part of it. They didn't want to listen to it. They were completely 1,000,000% against it. So U.S. Ski and Snowboard, basically, it's like, you know what, guys? We're just going to need to move on is what we're going to need to do. U.S. Ski Snowboard stated that the energy is best spent preparing athletes for the upcoming Winter Olympic cycle. The Federation also pointed to a broader principle, noting that the programs on sports requires partnership and trust. And look, and you didn't have that. So they were trying to collaborate with USA Surfing. USA Surfing wanted to attack and was completely against to do this. And so what do? They just pull out, right? Look, if we can't act like an adults and have a conversation about it, then maybe we shouldn't do this. So though it's stopping away right now, the surfing process, the Federation left the door open for future discussions. It said it remained willing to re-engage should the environment become more collaborative. In other words, no personal attacks, no lawsuits, and things like that. So it just makes you look at it and just wonder, like, okay, could USA Surfing, maybe they could have just, be like bamboo and not break and communicate with U.S. Ski and Snowboarding? Could there have been a collaboration where they could work together to put the most positive foot forward for surfing in the Olympics? I mean, I think there was room for that to happen. All right, so what does one of my former bosses from ISA, Bob Faslow, here's what he says about it. So we got to have both sides. So you've heard what U.S. Ski and Snowboard said. Here's what ISA and Bob Faslow has said. The ISA does not intend to entertain applications for membership from organizations that do not comply with the Olympic Charter nor represent the interest of our sport in the USA. Well, I mean, who was not complying? This is kind of funny. It's like, no, you did it. That clarity matters and should guide decision-making. Without ISA recognition, there is no Olympic legitimacy, and without stewardship of the sport, there is now no pathway for surfers. So that's what Bob said about it. So it's like ISA, USA Surfing playing together, having each other's back. But look, and I feel like the outcast here was just US Ski and Snowboard tried to come in and help and collaborate, and basically, like, when a dog wets on the floor and they take a rolled up piece of paper and slap them on the nose, kind of like that, right? But it shouldn't have been that way. Can't we all just get along, right? Can't we get along and just put the best foot forward for surfing, put the best foot forward for snowboarding and skiing, which is already being done by US Ski and Snowboard. So there you go. That's the story right there. Like it. We'll keep you updated if anything changes on that and who eventually will be the governing body. Will it be USA Surfing for LA 2028? Well, it's looking like that's going to be the way it goes. This has been Access Media Snowboard. You know what to do. Subscribe, like, turn on notifications. I'm Brad J., and I'll see you on the hill.